many a person visits Iceland for its natural beauty. So if one of the main reasons you are visiting Iceland is for that reason, this is definitely the video for you. In this video, I would like to share with you our journey around the Golden Circle, which can be visited from Reykjavik, with some key sites such as the waterfall, some volcanic lava craters, and of course the very large geysers. In fact, the largest geyser in Iceland. After the Golden Circle, let me take you around the rest of Iceland in this Iceland travel vlog series, sharing some of my insights and tips for if you plan to visit Iceland yourselves. We are currently walking between two tectonic plates. This area on the outskirts of Reykjavik is where the start of the Golden Circle commences, and not many people realise that Iceland is actually on the edge of two tectonic plates. It is actually the North Atlantic Ridge, where two plates from the North American and European plates actually join together. So what we are actually doing here is walking between the two tectonic plates of where one continent ends and another one begins. Quite frightening if there was actually an earthquake happening, but I believe for now we're quite safe. It was very windy this day, but also very peaceful. Lovely. A piece of advice that I would give to anybody embarking on a tour of Iceland is to actually ignore what Google says or some of the online websites saying that in the summer it is warm, because quite frankly, speaking as somebody from the UK, it was not warm. It says that in the summer in Iceland that it is around 12 to 15 degrees, but I think they really only mean in the city. Once you get out on the top of volcanoes and walking between tectonic plates and at the very cold, icy, misty, water vapoury waterfalls, it is more like 2 degrees. So even though we dressed up warm, we still felt incredibly cold. And as you look around, you can see on the expressions of other people's faces that they were also cold, as it just has a wind chill factor that nobody can prepare for, as I'm about to also explain here in this clip. Let's just say also, we thought that we had dressed for the climate. It's supposed to be 15 degrees in summer. Windy. But it is very windy and cold. So yeah, let's go get a bit warmer. The next site on the Golden Circle tour is the infamous or famous geysers of Iceland. Some people say geyser, some people say geyser. I have kind of interchanged the pronunciation throughout the filming of this video because of what I'd previously heard other people saying. But this is Iceland's largest geyser, and it shoots, I believe, 30 meters in the air, and the previous one did used to shoot 70 meters in the air, but it is having a period of rest, which sometimes geysers just do. So we are currently at the thermal springs, which is also the place of a very large geyser. At the geothermal springs, there are many pools, as you can see in these images, but the only current shooting geyser is the Stokker geyser. It can reach up to 40 meters, and it does shoot about every 5 to 10 minutes.
We're exploring all the geysers, there are several.
This is the pool for the Great Dormant Geyser, which once was Iceland's largest geyser. It stopped erupting back in 2016. It is always active again, usually around times of more volcanic activity, but it has laid dormant since 2016. It used to erupt and shoot water up to 170 metres into the air.
It smells like eggs.
At this point, we decided that we wanted to try and catch the Stocker geyser shooting a few more times before we moved on to the next spot of the Golden Circle, which takes around 8 hours to fully tour all the areas. We did this via coach. As you can see from the map, the areas are quite spaced out, but there is quite a lot of natural, wondrous, rich variety of things to see in this Golden Circle, hence the name. We will move on to see the rest later, but also a reminder that I am going to show some of the other large main waterfalls in this vlog based around Iceland, not just the Golden Circle. So as you can see in these images, everybody wants a photo or a video of the geyser erupting. Obviously you'll see people turning their backs to the camera to get the geyser in the background as they smile at the camera. And that is exactly what my partner and I, or Johnny and I, are doing in these images, as you're about to see. This was actually my first time ever seeing a geyser, and although I didn't catch the first time on camera that it erupted, the noise of it shooting up into the air actually quite shocked me, and I almost jumped out of my skin when it happened, as it was a lot louder than what I was expecting, and the noise isn't quite captured on the footage that I've got. And after all that waiting, it is all over in a matter of seconds, but definitely worth the wait. Walking around in the area of the geothermal activity and the geysers was definitely a nice reprieve from the cold, blustery stroll through the tectonic plates in the morning. But now it was time to move on to the next area on the Golden Circle, which is the waterfall. From Gulfoss waterfall, it is also possible to see an Icelandic glacier, but Gulfoss waterfall is quite special in that it is incredibly deep and it falls into a cavern type gorge which is around 200 meters in places. And Gulfoss actually means gold because on certain days when the sun is at its highest and brightest, it reflects a kind of gold haze all around.
So this is gulfoss waterfall, which means gold waterfall, because it often creates a rainbow over the top of it. We are going to be going around several of the waterfalls in Iceland while we're here, and this is just one of them.
So that's two reasons it's called Gulfoss Waterfall. But after viewing from the top platform, looking down, we saw that there was a number of people that had managed to get right down next to the waterfall. Well, it is something that we couldn't miss. We wanted to see the vantage point at the bottom. It was definitely worth the trek down. And around 200 stairs. So not for the faint-hearted if you are not good with stairs. But if you are, it is definitely worth the walk. So if you haven't been down there before, you're going to get to see it on this vlog. Let's go down to the bottom for a better vantage point. It was at this point Johnny decided to commandeer my camera, which you're just going to have to put up with throughout some of these vlogs, as I think he is enjoying being a part of the vlogs after all.
Hi, there. So this is the new way to take a selfie. Take a video! And if you look here to the left hand side of the vehicle, you see a waterfall. And did you?
Guys, it's okay. I have managed to get my camera back. We're safe for the time being. Johnny does have ADHD and sometimes gets a little hyperactive. Let me let you enjoy the splendour and sound of the waterfall for a moment. The terrain down at the bottom was actually very, very uneven because of all the basalt columns. So people were warned to not walk and film, but stand still whilst filming or taking photographs.
I want one like that as well. I am currently being covered by the spray. It is very damp, but we have warmed up with the long hike down.
And then the even warmer hike back up definitely warmed us up a little bit more. It was at this point in the day that I previously mentioned in the last vlog that we went to an Icelandic buffet. Unfortunately, it was impossible to film in there. They had us seated on these long, large, like refectory tables with benches together, and we barely had any elbow space, let alone space for a camera. I felt like it would have infringed on other people's privacy as well, as there would have been no way to not get their face in camera. But basically it was a buffet of fish, things like roll mop, lots of salad, bread and soup. I will later in the vlog be showing you the rhubarb delicacy that I mentioned in the last vlog, as they didn't have any of it on this buffet, but I later found some at a cafe.
And over there we have a volcano and the glacier.
The volcanic lava flow on Iceland leaves behind a lot of interesting minerals in the rocks, and it is very, very rich in different forms of mineral rock. The red hue that you can actually see in these images is actually a form of rust growing on the rocks themselves due to their metallic base, but it makes for very beautiful photographic visuals.
That's good. So this is the volcanic crater behind us here. You can see all the red rock, and this is where lava at one point will have come out of it. Hence the name for Iceland, the land of fire and ice.
So having completed the 8-hour tour of the Golden Circle with the Kerid crater, our day of exploring the natural wonders of the Reykjavik area of Iceland were over. But that is only the southwest of Iceland. Later in our trip and circumnavigation of Iceland, we went up into the Arctic Circle, and we also visited the Dynjandi waterfall and the Godafoss waterfall. The Dynjandi is the highest, and let's just say Godafoss is like a mini Niagara. By no means mini, but mini perhaps in comparison to Niagara, but it is a large sheet waterfall. So let me take you all with me on the other wonders that Iceland has to offer in the north and northeast of Iceland. For a frame of reference, the blue circle dot marks the site of Dynjandi. Let's go. Dynjandi is made up of 7 waterfalls in total, and they are cascading waterfalls. They cascade approximately 100 meters, but the largest waterfall is 200 meters and it is 60 meters wide. And as you're about to see, it is quite a trek to the top, but we couldn't resist the view.
Today we're actually at the dynjandi waterfalls, but it goes right up there. That's where we're going to walk to.
So as I walk up to the top of this waterfall, which is almost like a small mountain, let me tell you a little bit about some of the flora and fauna that I've learnt about whilst being in Iceland. I mentioned in the last vlog that 1 or 2 or even 3 of the things that grow naturally in Iceland, as they are few and far between, is juniper berries, blueberries and rhubarb. Because it is the youngest place on earth, it has limited time for moss to grow and therefore trees and any other kind of vegetation. Now this makes the Icelandic horses that I've also shown throughout a few of these vlogs particularly clever in their evolution, because they are one of the only strains of horses that can live on this sort of arid kind of grass year round, as they are very, very unique, and they have a particular kind of gut that enables them to digest this type of grass, which other horses wouldn't be able to. And we actually found out from a local that the Icelandic horses are so unique and so strong in their breeding that for this reason, if they ever leave Iceland, for instance, to enter a show or a competition, they are not allowed to return. So they then have to be sold on, because the Icelandic people are so afraid of introducing disease to the breed that it is just not allowed in order to protect the Icelandic horse breed. And they also told us that 60% of Icelanders actually enjoy horse riding. It is one of the main pastimes.
That height, if you can all hear me, was a lot steeper than it looked. Wow.
Johnny then also wanted to taste the fresh waterfall, which was of course safe to drink. But then we had the arduous task of climbing all the way back down with some very wet and slippery rocks. So if you ever do visit dynjandi, please wear strong gripping footwear, and it is quite rubbly, loose underfoot in some areas, so please be careful getting down and allow plenty of time. It does take about half an hour to get back down. Also, a little bit of insider information for anybody visiting dynjandi. It is not a built-up tourist area. Other than a ranger there for people with medical needs, there is only a few toilets. There is nowhere to buy water or coffee or tea or food of any kind, and it is quite out far away from anywhere. So if you want anything, my advice is to take it yourself. But of course, you can drink the water from the waterfall, so why not? Now here is a clip that I managed to get kind of on the fly. It was a very, very busy place further up the waterfall, even if the area itself is quite remote.
There are actually 7 small waterfalls that make up the larger part of the waterfall, and it takes about 30 minutes to get to the top and 30 minutes to get back down, but that's mainly because there are so many people also walking up there or hiking up there with you. If you were here very early in the morning, you could probably get up and down in 30 minutes rather than an hour, but it is definitely a sight worth seeing, and I can understand why Iceland is considered one of the most beautiful countries.
It simply wasn't safe to try and talk and walk whilst I was hiking up the waterfall. So this is the only footage I got there, and then it was time to get on the coach and return home. But later in our trip around Iceland, we did visit the next waterfalls, which is Godafoss, waterfall of the gods.
This is Godafoss waterfall, which is actually one of the largest waterfalls in Iceland, and there is 2 parts of the cascading falls, so let's head over to the other side.
At Godafoss, or waterfall of the gods, it was incredibly icy blue water. It was truly, truly beautiful. However, it was quite busy, as anything or any tourist destination often is, even in remote areas such as Iceland. So I would potentially allow quite a bit of time if you go there. We only had 1 hour because often there isn't much public transport going there, and you either have to hire a car, get a taxi, or go on a coach trip, meaning your time is limited. Unfortunately, we did what we always do, which is go to one vantage point and then realise we wanted to go to another. The problem was there was only time to go to a second vantage point when we actually realised there were about 3 really great viewing opportunities for the waterfall. So at one point there is a slight split on the cliff, and I decided to take the high road, as they say in Scotland, and my partner Johnny took the low road. He chose to go to the bottom of the waterfalls and get me some footage from down there, and I went to the top to film another view so that you guys get to enjoy the best of all 3 views. My mum did come on part of this tour with us, but chose to stay on the side where our transport was, and we went off running around like lunatics trying to see all we could in the short amount of time that we had. So here are the magnificent views, and I was lucky enough to catch a rainbow.
there's even a rainbow. As you can see, it's very, very busy here, so I definitely advise coming as early in the morning as possible. It's been a little bit of a scramble for everybody to get to the best vantage points. Beautiful, but busy. I'm now heading back along this very long path we have at the sides of the falls, and as you saw before, there's a bridge that you have to cross over to go from both sides, which is quite a bit of a walk. It's definitely a walker's type holiday coming to Iceland.
Meanwhile, on Johnny Cam, down at the bottom of the waterfalls. So the run back to our transport at this point kind of marked the end of our trip to Godafoss. We said if we ever went again, we would definitely allow longer. It would have been nice to have enjoyed a nice cup of coffee looking over the falls, as unlike dynjandi, there was a restaurant and also a coffee shop and also a souvenir shop. Not sure if that is a good or a bad thing, but a toilet would have been great. However, even though there was one provided, the queue for the toilet was about 200 people long. So, word of warning, if you ever visit, go to the loo before you go on your coach if you've got one. Do not join the queue for the toilet at Godafoss waterfall. Now, I hope you've enjoyed my tour of some of the natural, wonderful beauty that Iceland has to offer, including the Golden Circle, the volcanic craters, dynjandi, godafoss, gulfoss waterfall, and the tectonic plates. This does not mean to say that it is all Iceland has to offer. There are many more beautiful natural wonders. These are simply the ones I visited whilst circumnavigating Iceland by sea. If you would like to learn more about some of the villages and towns that we visited whilst doing this, why not watch my entire Iceland series, as I'll be sharing more about the villages that we visited, what we learned about Icelandic daily life or Nordic daily life in some of the smaller villages. We did visit the capital city of Reykjavik in the last vlog, and moving forward I'm also going to share some of my time at sea, showing you what that was like. So if you'd like to see that, by all means stick around. Bye for now. Bye.